Okay guys, we got another little project to tackle here on the old 77 Chevy C10. Recently, I posted a pair of videos on installing a new kind of retro looking stereo, and it was produced by Retro Sound. So there's a two-part video series on that, and I'll pop a card up here in the corner for you to check out. And I mentioned in that video that I'm going to be installing some kick panel speakers. Well, that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So right off the bat, I'm going to start by saying I've been looking for these speakers. I've been shopping for them for a couple of months now. There are two different cab configurations, aside from the standard cab and the crew cab that GM produced. There was no extended cab produced by GM. However, there was an aftermarket sort of a coach builder who did produce a few extended cab, kind of custom extended cab trucks in a Squarebody. But they're very rare, they're few and far between, and if you can find one, it might be pretty cool. You probably have some trouble finding parts for them. But the two cab configurations are, aside from regular cab and crew cab, would be an AC cab and a non-AC cab, meaning did the truck come factory with air conditioning or without air conditioning. My truck is a factory non-AC cab, and it makes a difference with these kick panel speakers because of the vents that are down low right on the kick panels. And I did do a video about installing some kick panels. I found some on eBay. They were original GM parts. Again, I'll throw a card up here in the corner. Maybe it's over in this corner, I can't remember. And I did a video on how I installed those. These, again, my truck is the non-AC cab. These pieces that I got here are for a factory AC cab. Predominantly, this being the driver's side, this is the one that is different. The passenger side is the same. When you buy these kits, the passenger side is the same part regardless if you have an AC cab or a non-AC cab. The difference is in the driver's side of the truck. And like I said, I've been shopping for these for about 2 months now. And this was an eBay purchase, but I checked with my vendors that I generally go with, companies like LMC Truck, Classic Industries, and Brothers Truck Parts. Those are the three main suppliers that I go with when I go to buy parts. I called and they did not have the non-AC versions of these kick panel speakers in stock, and they could not tell me when they were going to get that shipment in. So I didn't have much of a choice other than to order the speakers that are for an AC cab. Now I can make these work. It's not that difficult, and it's not much work to get specifically this driver's side kick panel speaker assembly to work. Again, the passenger side is the same. It's the same work whether you have an AC cab or a non-AC cab. It goes in just the same. It's the driver's side that is the difference. So we're going to start the installation with the driver's side because it's going to be the most work and require the most modification. So when we get in the truck and we start this installation, we are going to start with the driver's side. But I am certainly going to demonstrate how to install the passenger side. So let's just go over the truck and get started. Alright guys, like I said, we're going to start here on the driver's side of the truck, mainly because it's going to require the most work. We're going to have to modify the new speaker panel to fit because, again, my cab is a non-AC truck cab, and the panels that I have are for a truck that does come with factory air conditioning. So we're going to have to modify the speaker panel, and not to mention there's just a lot more complexity on the driver's side than there is on the passenger side. We've got the clutch pedal here. If your truck's an automatic, then you don't have a clutch pedal, obviously. But everybody's going to have a parking brake assembly. And I'm actually going to go ahead and remove this completely to allow me more access to work in this area. So let me reposition the camera and I'll show you what it takes to get the parking brake assembly removed. Alright guys, you're looking in through the vent in the dash. Let me show you what we're dealing with here. To get the parking brake assembly removed, there's 3 bolts. There's one right there, and there's 2 that we have to access from under the hood, and I'll show you those here in a minute. There's also one little clip right down there. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there's a little clip there that disconnects the parking brake cable from the assembly itself. And then I need to get my ground connection removed. I'm pretty certain that these trucks had a ground connection at this point. Basically all of these wires right here, these come from different accessories behind the dash. And then I have, on the back side, it's just a bolt going through. I believe it's this one right here. This wire, it's a thicker, it's about a 14 gauge wire that runs down to my chassis. So that's my chassis ground, and then I just bundle up my grounds here. So I got to remove this bolt, that circlip down there, and I'll take you under the hood and show you the 2 nuts that we need to remove there. Alright, here's the 2 nuts that we need to remove. One here on the bottom, one here on the top. The studs are actually captured. They're a part of the bracketry for the parking brake assembly. So you just need to put a wrench or a socket on these to twist these out. You don't need to have a friend under the dash holding the other side of the bolt to get these removed. And just to give you a reference as to where they are, there's the windshield wiper motor, and they're basically directly underneath that. So all I've done is I've moved the parking brake assembly off to the side. I realized once I got everything disconnected that I'd have to climb underneath the truck and actually loosen up the cables underneath to allow enough clearance to remove the cable from the little barrel end from the connector piece, the little ratcheting mechanism back there. So I don't really want to do that, and I've been testing it, and I actually have plenty of room under here now to work with. It would be optimal to get that parking brake assembly removed, but it isn't entirely necessary. So if you get it to this point, you'll be just fine. And just to give you a different angle on this, by moving the parking brake assembly out of the way, we do have enough clearance under here to do what we need to do. Obviously this panel doesn't fit yet. I mentioned we're going to have to modify it, but we now have the room we need to make those modifications. So let's keep going with this project. So the first thing I've done to get started on this project, I put some blue masking tape on my speaker panel, simply so that I can use my permanent marker here to make marks for where I'm going to need to make my cuts. This is a textured plastic, and I could mark on this just fine. I could probably get it off fairly easily with a rag and some rubbing alcohol, but this just makes it a little bit cleaner. So the other thing, I've been under here studying this, and there are enough differences between the new speaker panel and the original vent panel that I'm not comfortable just removing the vent panel, laying it on the workbench, and then kind of matching these up, because they are going to overlay, but it's not a perfect overlay fit. So I think I'm going to have to do this the hard way, which is just start fitting this panel into place, and then just slowly make a few cuts, test it again, make a few more cuts, test it again. That sort of cut and test and cut and test type of fabrication that we're going to have to do to get this to fit right. We obviously don't want to cut just a huge chunk out of this, which it would probably make it fit, but it would look like crap, and I don't want to do that. So that's how we're going to have to start this project. So I'll just start by making some first marks here, and then go make some cuts. So let me just bring you up to speed here, because I've been doing a lot of this off camera. I've made several cuts in the plastic, and I'm basically at the point that I have this edge right here of the speaker panel nearly flush with the edge of the door here, which is kind of where it needs to be. So now I'm going to start working on making a relief cut in here to allow for that little mount that holds the pull cable, the little rod that opens and closes that flapper valve. So it's right about there. That's the rearward edge, or the forward edge, however you want to look at it. And then roughly about there is the bottom, and it kind of tapers going upwards towards the firewall. So I'm going to go make those cuts, and then we'll do another test fit. Alright, a few more cuts later, and we're making some good progress here. I still need to cut it. We're not quite flush with the door yet. So this part right here needs to be cut some more. Kind of put that back in place. So we need to take some more out of there. Right down here, we need to cut some more. So this is actually going to come out to about, we'll bring it to there. Yeah, about a 1/2 inch. And then we got to take some more off the back here. So, making progress, but we just got to go make a few more cuts and keep test fitting it. Okay, so I've pretty much finished all the trimming on the speaker panel. And we've got a really nice fit here. So now what I want to do is I have to transfer some of the screw holes, the mounting screws, from the vent panel to the speaker panel. You can see we have one right here, there's a couple down here, and there's a couple back here. I think the only ones that will transfer would be these along the bottom. So I'm gonna, just to give me an idea. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna put some masking tape on my vent panel. Kind of like that. And I'm going to put some more on there, but I'm just giving you an example real fast. Because this speaker panel does not overlay on the vent panel perfectly. So doing it this way, putting some tape on there, now I can take my permanent marker and make marks onto the tape, which will show, which then I can take the vent panel off, put everything on the workbench, and transfer my holes. So let me put a little bit more tape on here, and then we'll go over to the workbench. Okay, so we got our two pieces here. Now all we got to do is just put the speaker panel back on, line it up with the marks that we made, and then I'm just going to use these simple pony clamps to kind of hold it in place. Put one there, one back there, and one right about there. So we just take the whole thing, flip it over, and we mark our holes to be drilled. So we got that one. These two aren't going to be used because the speaker's in there. This one over here, and that one over there. And then we just drill those holes out. Okay, so there's 4 screws in the vent panel that do not translate into the speaker panel. So there's there's only 3 that actually translate through to the speaker panel. So the vent panel is reinstalled. I've tightened down the 4 screws that do not work with the speaker panel. And now we're actually ready to reinstall our speaker panel, but first I want to route the wiring up. I'm just going to route it through the vent up here for right now. go. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and put the first screw in right here in the front. And then I will move to the back there, which you really can't see it, but I'll go ahead and put the other 2 screws there in the back. Okay guys, the speaker panel right here is fully installed, and I've encountered a pretty major problem. The pedal here on the parking brake, when I depress it, and that's only 1 click, it's contacting the speaker grill right there. And you can kind of see, let me try and zoom in a little bit. We're pretty tight against the arm, the inside, it'd be actually the bottom under here. But it's a pretty tight gap between the speaker grill and the arm of the parking brake. It looks like it'll clear. I'm not going to worry with that right now. I can probably shim the whole parking brake assembly a little towards the center of the truck, and I won't have to make any modifications to the arm here, but I'm clearly going to have to modify the little foot pedal here to get that to fit. So the parking brake assembly does have to completely come out of the truck. When I've done this before, I had the correct speaker panel, the one for the non-AC cab. So I have not encountered this problem before. But again, as I said before, I can't find the correct panels for this truck. I cannot find the non-AC speaker panels. So we just got to work with what we have. So I'm going to have to jack up the truck, crawl underneath, loosen the parking brake cable so that I can get the whole parking brake assembly removed from the truck. So that's what I'm going to do next and get that out, and then we'll start modifying the little pedal here.